you all on behalf of all our team members, including Dr. Rishi Mishra sir and Dr. Tosendra Dwivedi sir. They are really respected and very well faculties doing excellence in their field. Dr. Rishi Mishra sir is an RCI registered clinical psychologist. He also runs Connaissance Specialist, cent, a, an institution where the young minds are being shaped. And Professor Tosendra Dwivedi is an associate professor. I mean, the introduction is really short to define both the dignitaries from their respected fields, from the field of psychology. So, the Dr. Tosendra sir is an professor at associate professor at Alliance University, and same goes for um, if we talk with respect to Dr. Rishi Mishra sir, he's also he's also guiding many young minds and including he's also visiting faculty and IGNU. He has a very good experience across the globe also from various countries traveling, so we cannot if the introduction is really very less. And when we talk with respect to Connaissance Specialist, so this is an organization in which we generally guide students, shaping the career of young minds, basically clearing their doubts related to their career paths, providing them life support, and mentoring is also there, ma'am.
Hmm.
So we
Yeah.
will be beginning very shortly. Just last 1 minute. We are just waiting for a few more participants to join. So till that time, I'm just yeah.
Yeah, no, no, I've known personally Rishi for some time, and it's glad to meet Dr. Dwivedi here and you, lovely, because I've seen this I've not literally seen, but I have been hearing about Rishi's work, what he's been doing, and since we started this Empower Kids Learning Center in India, I was in India from 2013 till 2018. So at that time I ran this center in Sector 15, Noida. But yeah, of course, I moved back to US in 2018, and at that time we had to like close the services in India. But Empower Kids Learning Center has been there since 2011. The work has grown since then, and yeah, 2011 I started this. I've been a part of some organizations in US, in India, but now I'm running this full-time practice, my own practice, with a team of two other teachers with me here in California. And now at this juncture of my career, I've spent about 30 years in this work, so now I'm exploring if we can widen the collaborations with other organizations, be it in US, India, or other parts of the world. So we are associated with some organizations in Africa as well, in Ghana, in Kenya, in Swaziland, as collaborators with them for awareness generation campaigns and teacher trainings, as well as consulting with the various schools to set up the resource centers or train the teachers.
Oh, wonderful, ma'am. It is so nice to know about your experience. 30 year means it actually means a lot. There are
Mhm.
some upcoming international conferences in which we will play some pivotal role. And through Connaissance India, I will be very glad to have you either your online or offline session. But
Yeah,
definitely, your experience can benefit a lot of youngsters in psychology and mental health domain. So we are very privileged to
definitely.
have you on board today.
Definitely, definitely. I'm also looking forward, and I will be in traveling to India around Diwali time. I just booked my tickets last week. I'm traveling in India from October 16th till November 3rd. So in case there is some event around that time, I can join in person.
Ma'am,
Sure,
November
sure,
November
definitely.
8th and 9th is our international conference here in
Oh,
Delhi.
acha. Okay. I won't be there physically. I won't be there November 8th and 9th. I'm leaving India, coming back on November 3rd.
Oh, no, no, we will have you online also because your experience can benefit and illuminate a lot of youngsters, ma'am.
Yeah.
So we will again reach to you with a request of either
Sure.
delivering online.
Yeah, 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 definitely. It can be a recording or a direct live online session also.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. Looking forward to your visit. And
Sure.
if I'm in Delhi, I keep coming to Delhi. Presently, I'm in Bangalore.
Okay.
So my university is in Bangalore. It's the first private university of South India.
Okay.
So and as a trainer to class one guested officers, I keep visiting Delhi. So if I'm around, that pleasure and privilege to seek your guidance.
No, no, no. I'm looking forward for some more collaborations and partnerships and opportunities to contribute and give back to my community where I've learned so much.
Sure, ma'am. There are a lot more NGO and big societies to which I will have your MOU of your organization with them in Delhi NCR.
Lovely, lovely. Is it time for
So,
us to start now?
yeah,
I think
sorry.
we
Yeah,
should
yeah, ma'am.
start.
It's almost
Yeah,
time.
in between, sir and ma'am, respected sir and ma'am, and respected people, those who have joined. So, once again, I welcome you all. So, here's a short introduction about Dr. Anupama ma'am. So, meet Dr. Anupama Sethi ma'am. She's a leading voice in the field of special education and learning differences. She's also the founder and director of Empower Kids, an organization that is dedicated to empowering children with diverse learning needs. With a strong foundation as an educational therapist and cognitive skills trainer, Dr. Sethi brings years of hands on experience and an innovation to inclusive education. So, as a passionate advocate for learning differences, she has been instrumental in building awareness, offering support to families, and training educators to better understand and address the unique needs for every learner. Her work is not only purpose driven but deeply impactful, making her the perfect guest to speak on unlocking the many meaningful career roles in special education. So, once again, on behalf of all the audience, those who have joined and those who are listening to us, and our very dearly organization, Connaissance Specialist, and the two the two respected professors, I really welcome you, ma'am, once again on our
Thank you.
first show of podcast. So,
Thank you so much. Thank you for your team and Dr. Devedi and Dr. Rishi. I am deeply, deeply thankful for this opportunity and reaching out to the wider community with the knowledge and experiences what we have.
so, ma'am, if you're comfortable, can we start with the questions because
Sure, definitely. Yeah,
yeah, a
sure.
lot of people are waiting for
Yeah.
listening to your over and years of experience. So,
Yes, let's
so
start.
our first yes, ma'am. So our first question is to begin with. Could you please tell us a bit more about your journey, ma'am? What drew you to the field of special education?
Oh, absolutely lovely. Absolutely. So, my journey in the field of, I would say, special education or broadly education started about 3 decades ago in India. My first job was at National Council of Educational Research and Training, NCERT, and in the Department of Preschool and Elementary Education. After I had done my master's in human development, at that time it used to be called child development, and I was new to Delhi and I joined NCERT in the Department of Preschool and Elementary Education. My first project there was in the field of children with visual impairments, and we were trying to change some books and materials to the audio books. And we worked at the National Association of Blind. There was a school in RK Puram area of Delhi. So that was my hands-on experience to work with children with any kind of special needs. And it was a learning experience there for me. And the second project that I worked on was on peer tutoring for children in uh, the MCD schools, Municipal Corporation of Delhi's elementary primary schools, where we paired some high achieving or children who were doing well and children who were struggling. We did not know what the reasons were why these children were not doing so well, but in our experience, we found that peer tutoring really helped both the sides of children who were high achievers and not so high, because it built that trust relationship between the both the students. And then my professors there, who were my mentors, Dr. Rajalakshmi Muralidharan and Dr. Anupam Ahuja in NCERT, they introduced me the term to the learning disability and dyslexia. And thankfully, the library at NCERT was filled with resources of learning to understand what this new concept of learning disabilities was. So that was an eye-opener experience, and at that time I was starting my PhD, so thought maybe learning disabilities and dyslexia is the area I should explore. And luckily, I got my UGC fellowship, and so I started exploring my PhD area in learning disabilities. And gradually, maybe I think this was meant to happen. I was introduced to Dr. Sunita Sori, who's a pioneer in the industry of working with children with learning disabilities. So I joined their institution in 1994 and worked with them for about 5 to 6 years. And that was my hands on experience of understanding what the learning disabilities are and how to work and identify informally, no formal training in learning disabilities. Because in India, this term at that time, I'm talking about 1993, 1994, not many people even knew about what learning disabilities are. So it took me about 6 years to complete my PhD because of the lack of resources or the research review at that time. But yes, I had to really work hard on even getting one article in Journal of Learning Disabilities or somewhere and then I was lucky enough to approach one of the leading pediatrician, Dr. Deepak, Dr. Sunil Mehra in east of Kailash. He was again a personal mentor, and he took on his membership used to take me to the National Medical Library near All India Institute, because as a student I did not have access to that library, and with no internet, nothing, going to these libraries, taking all my notes. And so yeah, cutting the long story short, I got introduced to Dr. Sunita Sori, Dr. Sunil Mehra, and all these people had their own personal experiences and professional experiences to work in this industry of learning disabilities. So I worked with them. Then after that, I got married in between, moved to US, and then here I started my formal training in the field of Orton Gillingham teaching. And because when I moved to US, I was working. I could not work here because I came here on a dependent visa with my husband, and I had a young kid by that time. My daughter was about 2 years old when I moved to US. Now she's 25 and working. So yeah, my journey began at like that, and then when I moved to US, I was in Pennsylvania. There I did all my certifications and education, completed some more programs in the area of multisensory teaching, got some internships done, and got absorbed in the same organization called Masonic Learning Centers here. So then I moved to Colorado, did my special education credentials for the state of California, worked there as a special ed teacher in the elementary school, moved to California, and continued working. And I established this registered EmpowerKidz Learning Center in Colorado. And since this has been a part-time work, along with working with various organizations, schools, private organizations, and then now full-time onto my journey of being a full-time educational therapist and focusing my work on educational therapy with children with neurodiverse backgrounds, be it dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, or mild autism, ADHD. And I don't want to label these kids, but any child who's struggling in school, and if I can support the kids and the families, I would be working with them. Here is the long story short. This, in just brief few minutes, I have given the gist of my life, of what I've been doing.
Ma'am, it's a feeling that I ask you to, continue the same story once again, because it was such a immense and such an insightful learning that we all got to know through your story. That's not a story, that's actually an inspiration for everyone, for those who are present in this podcast session, and those who will be listening to us. This is
Thank you so
actually
much.
not a
Thank
story.
you. Mm-hmm.
So, ma'am, with this, we
Thank
will
you.
move to the second series of the question. So, the title of our episode talks about purpose-driven careers.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does that phrase mean to you personally in the context of special education, ma'am?
Mm-hmm. Okay. For me, to me, a purpose driven career in special education is about the outcome and not the output. Not just delivering the content to the students and the families, and not just ticking the boxes. We have to look at the whole family and the whole child in the perspective. Who's coming to us? Whom are we serving here? Whether it is a child with learning disability, learning differences, or with ADHD, or with mild autism or intellectual disability, we are touching and transforming the lives of the kids. We are not just giving them the content teaching or academic teaching, because most of the times, how do the parents come to us? The parents come to us with a basic question. uh, we want our child to be in inclusive education in a regular school, but he or she is not performing. We are getting a lot of complaints. The child is working really hard, we are working hard, teachers are working hard to give the instruction to the children, but still the child is not performing. I don't know what's the reason parents have this. We are fed up. We have gone through a lot. So these are the symptomatic or the behavioral observations with what the parents and teachers come approach us as special educators. So we are not there to just do the output like, oh, we have done this chart box, we are doing this, we are doing this. But we have to completely understand the whole child, why the child is not in a position to achieve their own potential. We are in a situation where we have to support the kid as well as the family, as well as the commune environment of the student where the child is. And I can never forget one of my mentors telling me here, his name is John Fleming, with whom I've worked here in California. The one basic statement from him changed my approach to work with children. Anupma, we need to work with a child where the child is, where our student is, in the physical space or the intellectual space or in the emotional space. Wherever the child is sitting physically, if the child is sitting on the floor or on the carpet, and most often as a teacher, regular teachers, I don't want to pinpoint to the teachers, but we expect them, anybody, adult who's working with the children will say, okay, uh, X, Y, and Z, Jack, Raghav, can you please sit on this chair? Um, hands on the side, sit still. Can you please sit still? Can you please not fidget your pencil? Look at me, focus. So no, if we have to meet the child where the child is, we have to adapt that environment. We have to be sitting on the floor if the child is on the floor. And emotionally, if the child is not ready, emotionally or psychologically or physically, if his body is not ready, the child, I'm using the pronoun his, but it can be anybody, his or her. But yeah, if the child is not ready emotionally, psychologically, physiologically, or cognitively, any academic teaching, content teaching is not going to work with the child is in that situation. So for me, the purpose, or as you're asking, purpose driven career, we have to meet the child where the child is, and extend our support to the families as well as to the allied professionals, whosoever is working with the child, especially in India, where we see that the awareness about the neurodiverse kids is still in the very, very infancy stage. Our job becomes more and more purpose driven in the terms of creating an awareness in our community. What is neurodiversity? Who's a child with neurodivergent need? How do we identify these children? And and our job is not just stuck to the school working hours, but beyond it, we are living that career throughout 24 by 7. We are living into that career. Wherever we get a chance, we talk about it. In whatsoever capacity, we can even create some awareness talking to our community, because it's a matter of creating awareness and sensitivity among the community to identify and be aware who these children are, and how can we extend our services, or an empathetic approach to understand what the child goes through. We don't know, but we can just extend a helping hand and empathetic approach to reach out to families, to the community and the children.
Well, ma'am, like after asking each question and knowing your responses, my curiosity has really increased. Not only mine, but the curiosity of every student, those who have joined, and every participant, those who have joined this webinar. Such in, I mean, answer by answer, it's the answer is you're fabricating your experience such a beautifully, how beautifully you have defined and in such a simplified form. It was really awesome, ma'am. Now, with this, ma'am, we will move over to third part of the question.
Mm-hmm.
Many people believe special education is just about teaching children with disabilities, right? So, how would you broaden that definition for our listeners?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, lovely. This question is multi-layered for me. When I look at if you ask me to define or to explain the concept of special education, it is, I would say, and your esteemed faculty members here, Rishi and Dr. Devedi, would understand that we can talk for n number of hours and hours about what exactly is the concept of special education, and it is to me, just to keep it brief and short and crisp, I would say that we cannot confine special education at like how the content teaching at a slower space, or space, or the slower speed, or the limited content. For me, special education as a concept, I would say it's not even, I think it's a high time for us to redefine or rename this special education to something else. We have to be creative, because it's not just related to the education, and it's not just teaching the children with disabilities. And first of all, I want to clarify that I don't believe in the concept of using the term disability anywhere. What is the purpose of the term disability? It could be just for the official purposes of getting some accommodations and modifications for these children in a school setup, in a in where we have to get some, for example, some services from the Central Board of Secondary Education or from the school systems. So broadly, at we are talking about addressing a broad range of spectrum of children or people with neurodiverse backgrounds or their needs. And we have to first of all acknowledge that education is not confined to content teaching in schools. It is about looking at the holistic child, what the cognitive needs are, what the emotional needs are, what the intellectual needs are, or what the physiological or physical needs, if the child is foundationally not yet ready to learn, any form of content teaching is going to fall flat. Like, uh, I don't know how many people would be. I'm very comfortable in Hindi also. I may use a few terms of Hindi in between, because I cannot have any other analogy better than like chikna ghada. If I pour some water on a clay pot, it is going to run down without seeping deep into the container, or the clay vessel or the clay container, because if the child's physiological need, if the child is not in a position to to balance properly or be fidgety, his or his visual processing abilities are not intact, or his there is a cognitive overload or emotional overload, and perceptual motor skills are not ready, so we cannot be, we will not be in a position to teach anything content wise unless and until the child is ready there. So special education is not just restricted to content teaching. It has a wider spectrum, wider horizon conceptually, and it's a field of multidisciplinary approach using all the allied professionals into incorporate. It's a holistic team. That's why we usually in US we have come now, like we work as a team. Maybe it's that there is a need for an occupational therapist to work with a child, or a speech and language pathologist, or or a therapist to work, because sometimes we see the emotional layers coming, and not only the child but the family, the siblings are also have to be involved, because they are the pivotal points of in the within the family. They have to be trained how to work with the children at home, and how to provide that emotional support to the children there. So yes, it's a wider, very very wild, a wider field of of educational journey for the whole family, for the community, with child being at the central focus. And per se, I would still request that we don't have to use the term disability. Learning differences could come in, people with neurodiverse needs, and it's a whole spectrum there. So conceptually, it's a very, very detailed in and deep concept, but we have to constantly keep on working on creating an awareness about these areas. Yes.
So, ma'am, that's a much needed clarification because it helps us to understand the true scope of the field. Thank you so
Yes.
much for answering to this, ma'am. With this, we are moving on to the fourth segment of this question. So, ma'am, what are the different roles a professional in this field can take up beyond just being a classroom teacher, the
Mhm.
mentor, advocate, coordinator, or what can the kind of roles people can?
Okay, so in the special education industry, there are, I would say, various roles, but I want to start my response to this question, or responding to this area, by the way, in a way where I want to make it very, very sure that whosoever enters the area of, or this field of special education, the first thing is to work at the grassroots level, whether it's a learning center or a school based program. For example, because I'm familiar with Delhi area, there are many schools in and the learning centers. Entry level position is the first most thing as a fresh graduate from special education student, be it from RCI registered any organization, or from a private institute, or from an international organization. The first point of entry of job could be any school, and there are many schools in Delhi NCR and all over India. I'm more familiar with Delhi NCR region. So, like there are the schools like Sri Ram School, or the Vasant Valley Modern School, Step by Step School, Genesis Global School, Lotus Valley, and Air Force Golden Jubilee Institute, Naval Public School, or the school some of, and then private institutes like Center for Children with Special no Center for, by Dr. Deepak Gupta runs a very good organization in GK1 area. Center for, and no, what is it called? Center for Children and Adolescents with Special Needs, CCAW. No, Adolescents Well-Being. Then there is another organization by Dr. Lata in Mayur Vihar area. Her center is called Palak Center. Then there is an organization called Tickles, an occupational therapy service-based center in Noida, and the lady who runs, her name is Arzu. Then there are uh, other professionals like Dr. Priyanka Jain. She's a developmental pediatrician. Then there is a place called Aurobindo Society, which is being run by the person who takes care of their special ed services and inclusives is Dr. Simmi Mahajan is there. Then organizations like hospital settings like Wimhans, Mulchand Hospital, and all these places, we have so many. These are just a handful of organization and people I know. And then there is another very interesting and very experienced professional, Dr. Manish Samnani, who runs an occupational therapy and sensory integration services for children with autism. His organization's name is called Soch, which is based in Gurgaon, and he has a great experience, and he keeps on running very very good professional development courses for the people in the field of occupational therapy. My humble request to any person who want to pursue this career has not to look only for the school based job and starting their own private practices without an experience. We have to have tons of experience because every child is unique in this area. I personally have a very not so very positive experience because in my experience I've seen not many very few people will be devoting that kind of time to get experience to work with children before they land up and starting their own practices to go home based services. Of course you can do that, but you have to have that kind of an experience to handle some severe situations. Emotional meltdowns happen, families are not aware. So unless you have that experience, and how will we get that experience? By working in as a part of a multidisciplinary team in various settings, be it a school setting or a or a learning center or a hospital setting. Like Gangaram Hospital also has a very good setup, and there is another organization. Dr. Imran Nurani is there. Dr. Parveen is there associated. They have done a good job in starting a program, and they also have their centers outside Gangaram Hospital also. Dr. Roma Kumar is another psychologist who is an expert in this area. She's a part of Gangaram Hospital, and then she runs her own private practice as well. And getting to know these people, their work, their meeting them in conferences, workshops, attending all these things, then once we have the experience, there are various roles. We can be an advocate for the needs of these people, or we can be a curriculum developer or instructional support provider. And once you have some experience of working in special education, one can become an educational therapist. There is a very good organization in India, based in Chennai, Alpha to Omega Learning Center, being run by a very senior lady, Lalita Ramanujam, and she offers an educational therapy certification program through an international organization called NILD, and they also run smaller workshops from instrumental enrichment program. But I would highly recommend that once you have, there is there is once you have a experience of working in the field, hands-on experience of working with children, and then pursuing what you want to do, then there is no limitation to if you can restrict yourself to a handful of this. So first and utmost need is to work in the field and get that experience, and then understanding what we want to do in the future.
Ma'am, well, this is really, I mean, it will really help not only the children or also the professional ones who are looking for some support and guidance. That was really a beautiful curated answer, ma'am. That was really nice listening to.
Yeah, I can go on and on these topics. I have to just
Yes, ma'am.
I have to just remind myself and being mindful of what time we have. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. From the passion behind all these things, it's just we can see all of you, all of us can see that. So, would you like to add something to this topic?
Yeah, in fact, whenever I had a conversation or interaction with Dr. Sethi, it was very insightful, and more specifically, when we talked about the symptoms and the experiences and all those things with the in the ADHD sector, and even now when I am listening to ma'am about the novel and the new creative things which are going on outside India. It's really wonderful to know because here in India, ma'am has correctly said that still we are a long way to go and know that what actually is the thing. And specifically when ma'am has spelled out that the the differences thing is the right word rather than using the disability section is more important. I think it's the time that we should start following it, because the moment we say that the wrong word, uh, at that moment we start thinking in the wrong directions. That's wonderful, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, with this, we will move towards the next question. So, how, ma'am, how important is emotional intelligence, empathy, and patience in this career path? Can these skills be developed with experience, ma'am?
Of course, of course. So I'll respond to this question with my own experience as a mother of two grown-up kids. My kids are 25 and 20 now. And with my mom, who's in India right now. And she has seen me working with kids for the past 30 years or so. I used to be working sometimes from my home also when I worked. So she had one basic question. My mother has always told me, Anu, like you have seen, Anu, sometimes you get impatient with us at home, but when you are working with a student, your tone is so soft and you are listening to the parents very patiently. But this side of yours we haven't seen in our lives, personal life, when you interact with your parents. And my own kids, my daughter would say, Mom, the way you talk to the families, to your patients or to the clients and their families, we see that you are always smiling, or you have that empathetic approach. But with us, you have like uh, treated us with scoldings, and occasionally a little bit of you have shown us that uh, gussa, and sometimes you have shown us that you can hit us also, or spank us. I should not be using these words on this forum, but yes. I Then they said, I see that there is a difference being myself as a daughter, as a mother, and as a professional in this. So automatic, I don't have to change my, it is not intentional now. So whenever I am there with professionally in a forum like this, I can but I can switch on and off, like and I won't say, I will admit that my own interactions with my kids is different at times, and with my family is different. But professionally, when I'm working, it comes naturally after spending 30 years in this profession. But it is a learned behavior. We can develop it. And how did we learn? How has Rishi learned it? How has other people in these profession learn it? Because the more time we spend in this profession, the more experience we get. It takes me to that level of feeling of a gratitude, that yes, I am at a level where I can support this kid of through this empathy. And emotional intelligence is a big piece, which is, again, I would say, a learned behavior. But more you work with children and families in whatsoever capacity, your understanding builds up. What is going through, what the parents are feeling, what the child is feeling at this time, that gives you that food for your learning. And you build that empathy, that yes, we have to empathize, we have to have an emotional intelligence. That is how only we will be in a position to give some kind of a positive solution or strategy. Solution is not the right word, but a strategy, how to uh, come up with some plans. If we are emotionally stable ourselves, if I am myself triggered with something not so positive, how can I give a strategy to the parent? For example, I always use this analogy, and I also learned it somewhere, that if you're traveling by plane, the first thing in case of emergency, the air hostess and everybody tells you, first put your mask, oxygen mask on yourself. So we have to be stable emotionally, and have to have empathy in ourselves before we can give any strategy or any approach or any other kind of support to the families and to the students. So and the patients also come with experience. And with both my kids, they are grown up now, so they say, yes, mom, you have evolved as a mother, as a professional in this field. So now I don't get angry with my kids. So my emotional stability is at a phase right now that I don't get impacted by anything negative around me happening. No, it's so coming to a conclusion, coming to accept the way we are ourselves and accepting the other people the way they are is the key to to rule this personal life and the professional. Be confident in, and confidence, how will you get the confidence unless you work in that field? The knowledge and the experience of working in any industry is going to give you the confidence, emotional stability, empathy to work with anybody. And of course the skills, educational, under the special education, whatever courses we have done will give us the theoretical knowledge. How do we apply that and get the confidence and experience, and then move on in your journey to be emotionally stable, emotional intelligence, and be empathetic?
Well, ma'am, it really clears, you know, that really gives a lot of hope, especially when to those who are just starting and still building these skills.
Mm-hmm.
Really
Yeah.
nice. Now we are heading towards the next question. So,
Mm-hmm.
ma'am, when we talk about a typical day in the life of a special educator,
Mm-hmm.
so what does a typical day in the life of a special educator look like, and how does it vary across school settings or age groups?
Oh, this is again, as I'm saying, lovely. It's we cannot answer it in just one sentence or a small passage. The response to, because it will depend on a variety of settings where the teachers and where the professionals in special education are working. Every day is a different, every setting is a different. If you're working in a school setup in the mornings, like for example 8 to 3 is your timing, and if you're working with the elementary grade children, and if you're a special ed teacher, your day would be like in a, if you're working with students in a pulled out session, or if you have a classroom, the kids will be coming to you and you are working with them. And it, whether it's a small group situation or a one-to-one situation, it will be a different. So you, and the way we have worked earlier in the schools in India, I was a part of the school called Lakshman Public School. As a, we were trying to train the resource teachers there, and so the way they had planned out their schedules and the timetables, that they'll pull out the children in their English class, literacy class, and the students will come in a small group instruction. The teacher will give them instruction through multisensory approach, and then they go back to their regular classrooms, or in their math classes the kids will come to them. But in case you are working with the middle schoolers or the high schoolers with neurodiverse need, your strategy and the approach and the content is different there, because the emphasis more is on the executive functioning skills, how to stay organized, time management strategies, or their cognitive strategies. So it will be varying, it will depend on that. But if I look at the schools in US, how the special ed teachers work here in the public schools, they will be sometimes going in the classroom situations to support the mainstream teachers to work within, so that the child is not even getting that feeling that, oh, I've been pulled out to go to the special ed teacher in this time. The child is within the regular mainstream classroom. The special ed teachers will be going from one class to the other to work with the children in smaller time frames and the small group instruction or the one-to-one situation. So it is a very, very, I would say, unique. Every teacher, every school, every student will have a different kind of a schedule. We cannot standardize or generalize one typical day platform, but we have to create the unique days, schedules for teachers, and with the flexibility what the child needs, and the child is at the focus of attention there. How can we provide individualized unique services to this child? We have to create that kind of the schedule or the day's activities within that system of the school. Available resources, availability of the number of teachers, special education teachers, what space is available, the physical space. So maybe. I have worked in a private school in California where I was an instructional aide and the resource person. I would pull out two children because we did not have much space in that school. So the principal of that school had given me, Anupma, my room is free from this time. You can bring both the children, all your students, one or two at a time, and work in my office, and I will be outside. So the principal offered his own room because there was not enough space in the school. So you have to come up with some practical solutions, very, very unique to that kind of an environment and that kind of need for the children. So there is no one standardized, generalized rule. What could be the day, a typical day in the life of a special educator in a school setup or in the learning center setup?
That really paints a clear picture. It's helpful to see how dynamic and flexible the work can be. So, with
Yep.
this, we are heading towards the final question. So, could you please shed some light on the impact special educators not just on the students, but also on parents, peers, and school culture as a whole?
Oh, this is, I think, again, a very, very multi layered question. And the impact is not only restricted to one dimension where the child feels that or the parents feel that our child is working really well now. I would say it's a very, very multi-dimensional impact, and it doesn't just impact the student, but his family or her family. And and for me, the biggest impact is if I can elevate the child's confidence and his self or her self and esteem. That's the biggest reward for me, and that which can be transformative. And as a special educator and or a specialist professional, we at times become the first person who understands the child wherever the child is at that emotional level or the psychological level or the cognitive level. And that's why I also emphasize for any professional who's working in this industry to have a good working relationship with the student. First of all, if the child is comfortable with you, he will or she will not, like, sometimes we have seen the resistance in the children, that the children don't want to go to the school or to the learning center because they are not comfortable. They have been asked to confine to the systems of the schools because we expect the children to be sitting still following the instruction. So there is a rift. So, as a first point of contact, where if we can make the child comfortable, half the battle is won. If we can make the family comfortable, we we get being on the same plane with the families and the parents is the key to success for wherever we are working. So the impact is multidimensional. If the child is happy, parents feel that our child is getting some uh, positive feedback for his or her performance, then the parents are happy. When you see the smile on a face of a child, and when the child is not saying, "Oh, I don't want to go for this class, I don't want to go to this school," so that is the first step to see the positivity and the response from the child. So the biggest difference, it's the multidimensional happiness, positivity to come to the class with you at your learning center or to the classroom with you in the school system is the first step. Then the confidence, then the achievement the child will have. Oh, earlier I was getting just 5 out of 10 or 5 out of 15 marks. If there is even a single score improvement, now he's getting 10 on 15 or 10 on 20. Earlier the child was getting. Those are the small steps we are making. There is no magic wand where we can see the progress from 30% to 80% or to 90. That's a journey. See those journey, the small steps towards that goals, that the child is happy, the family is happy. This is the best reward one could go. Of course, we are all of us are here to make a living out of this profession wherever we are. We all need the money is a and sometimes people say that, money is not the everything, but I differ on that. Money is a big part in any career, as it is in the field where we are. We don't get the kind of salaries or the remuneration what other people in the IT industry or in the financial sectors are getting. But of course, money is a big part, but we have to have a balance of getting the financial remuneration as well as the other remuneration, where we are satisfied, and creating a balance of what we are doing is making a impact in meaningful positive impact in the lives of children and their families. So creating a balance is very important.
Well, ma'am, that's a powerful reminder of how deeply this work touches lives beyond the classrooms.
Yeah, I'm glad it is of some insight and some help, and I have to learn a lot from the other people who are working in this profession.
Ma'am, there is a question because that was the last question. So we will be addressing few questions. There is a question by Mr. Amrit Lal Yadav.
Mhm.
So he has typed this question in the chat box. Hi, ma'am. Love to listen you and thanks for the session. He's pursuing Masters of Education in Special Education
Mhm.
with visual impairment. So please,
Okay.
can you light in the matter of what are the possible career opportunities in field of visual impairment?
Oh, I may not be in a position to give a proper justified answer because I'm not sitting in India right now. But yeah, so after doing masters in special education for the children with visual impairment, I think the first thing could be to identify your own interest if you want to go for teaching or some research. So if you want to pursue into research area, there will be many organizations, and especially like your own organization, which is the focus is on research as well. So there could be more research work going on in identifying what could be the other ways to support the children with visual impairments. A lot of work can be done, some research, and research, and along with research, I would say working with children with visual impairments to understand what the needs are. So the again, as I mentioned earlier, we have to work at the grassroots level. Various organizations or the various schools where we are working in terms of teaching or developing some materials for children with the visual impairment, whether now with the advent of artificial intelligence and machine learning and deep learning, there could be some more ways to support, or technology tech based support systems, creating some new methodologies, devices. And again, for that, all we need is research and understanding the needs of the children with visual impairment by working at various organizations. Like, I don't know how many schools are still working for the kids with, especially only for the kids with visual impairment. There is one again in RK Puram. There is one place in Lajpat Nagar area. There is a blind school there. And some schools also have an inclusive setup, but how many kids with visual impairments are attending the regular schools? And there is a need for a specialist, special educators of with visual impairment specialization to be working in a regular mainstream school. I am not sure how much is that possible, but of course we have to look for avenues and explore the various options where we could go and work depending on what interest you have. There has to be a reason or your own purpose and objective what you want to do in your life with this background.
Really, I'm I'm in love with this field after listening to your experience because there is so much. The time is just a limit. If I could get a chance to explore more depth into
Yeah,
each topic.
lovely. Mr. Amrit has joined himself. So, Mr. Amrit, do you have any other questions? Because while the time your question was answered, you got offline.
He's muted. I think if he can ask the question.
Mr. Amrit, would you like to ask some more questions directly to sir or ma'am? No, no, it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes it happens with everyone due to network issues and something. Ma'am is right there in front of you, ma'am and sir. Both you are open to ask your questions. Everyone.
So, ma'am, I would like to ask a question like, it's been a very long journey with all unique experiences you had. Um what was the most challenging kind of case you could encounter in your life?
Rishi, I can answer with a lot of, because everything is not success while you're working in this field. Some work in my own journey, I must have worked about, mm, I don't know, I've lost the count how many kids I might have worked with, but a few handful of cases I can share that my work did not make any, or not any, but much impact. And I was hoping, like, I have worked with a few kids with autism, where, especially with the kids with nonverbal challenges and verbal issues, like the children who are have good language. And first of all, I should also state that it's the most difficult for thing for me to is to work with the children with autism, and I don't have a formal training or to work with kids with autism. With my experience, I can work with them, but I always wondered what happens in the brain or the mind of a child with autism, especially where there is no language. And again, I have worked with five or six students, and they have the kids with autism with no language. And I try to take the help of a speech and language pathologist because the communication is the key there. As a team, we were working together, we have worked together. So the and it was a feeling that why can't I get a response, and this SLP, that profession from speech and language background, is getting the response, because they were using specialized those cards, communication cards and everything. And when I worked, I said, no, it's difficult for me. So then I defined, that was an eye opener, that I cannot work with all the children. I need to define my role where I can work, and that learning differences, ADHD, kids from elementary up to, like, any, I can start working at 4 years of age and go up to 13, 14. But I deliberately don't work with kids in the area of beyond high school, or the children who are in 10th, 11th and 12th grade. That's an intentional choice I have made, because at times I don't feel very comfortable, because they often become judgmental, these children. And typical teenagers are very, they're high on their hormones, and with their changing bodies and emotions. So at times I would be assertive, this has to be done this way, otherwise you will be not working with me. So they will often argue and assert themselves. So that is one time I've seen that my capacity of working with the high schoolers is limited, and I have tried to work there, and it becomes beyond my skill set to sometimes work with kids in the high school or beyond high school. And some children with autism who are completely nonverbal, I find it really, really challenging in that area. I want to develop that skill to be working with them, but it will take some more time for me if I want to expand my, but that is one area. And typically one kid I had worked, like, he would, a 5-year-old kid is coming to my center, and mom is saying that mom has a different expectation. Anupma ma'am, he doesn't do this with me at home. I said, no, but you, I'm showing you the recordings, what he's doing with me. So I'm not blaming the kid as such or the family, but it was very hard to convince the mom that it's beyond my professional capacity to work with this child. The child needs some other form of emotional therapy and ABA work before he's ready to work with me. So I had, because we have cameras at our center, so I will take out the recordings and I'll share it with this kid's mom. But mom, I have seen some progress since he started coming to you. He should, but I said, but it's draining my energy. I have to be working with other children after the student. So I said, okay. I gave him them good 8 months, 10 months time. Then I had to put my foot down. Please, Mr. Isaac, it's difficult for me to work, to start, continue my work. Of course, it was a loss of revenue for me. And I said, no, no, Anupama, ma'am, we are paying you everything, all those things, whatever you are charging. I said, no, it's not ethical for me to continue to charge and give you time because in my opinion, the child is not making that progress, I was anticipating, what I had hoped. I had to say no to some of these. At least 3 kids I have said no in my profession in the last 2 years' time. So it has happened. We have very, very positive stories and a few stories and the incidents where we have seen that it's not the right match to work with that student. It has to be a good fit of my professional experience and the child's needs.
Very true. In fact, I had few experiences with the autistic children at Dewdrops Therapy Center. That's
Mhm.
it's in South Delhi. And then
Mhm.
later on, during my counseling experience, I'll say gender identity disorder is the one where I feel I still need to go more deeper
Yes.
into what
Rishi,
actually helps them
it's a
out.
very, very sensitive topic. Gender identity is because for us, the generation from we, I am coming, you are a few years younger than me, and my daughter and my son, they are more receptive of these because it's in their generation, all these gender identity issues are coming up. And to me, I am in a position to admit in this forum God or the nature, I would say, sends us to this world with biological being a gender of a male or a female. But I also accept that there could be some areas where it is a transgender. I understand there could be some genetic issues where we do not identify as a male or a female. But being completely born as a as a female, I cannot, it's very hard for me to accept that a person is not identifying himself as a female but a male. Then they will start using they them their, all those issues come up. And then I have seen my daughter has a very close friend and from her college time, and she says, mama, this is happening. I said, so I am trying to learn myself to be very, very receptive, but it's beyond my comprehension. And I did an assessment, neuropsychological assessment. I was a part of a team at my organization where I had to do an assessment for a high school kid. And I think we used to spend about 3 days to complete the assessment for 6 hours, 3 hours each day we were working. This kid comes to our center for an assessment and child is wearing a cap and a hoodie and all those things. And one day and then I was told that this child identifies himself like born as a girl, they them there. And one fine day she takes off this, I would still call her she takes off her cap and I see half the hair is fine and half hair is colored in pink and blue and purple and half the side is shaved off. So it was very hard for me to control my emotions. I told this kid, give me 2 minutes. I have to go to the restroom. I went, go to, and then in the hallway, I call my mentor, John. I had to call him, John, can you please come outside? And so John is also laughing, and I'm also laughing. We had a blast of a laughter there. I said, John, it's very difficult for me to work with this kid right now. They, them, how do I address this kid? He said, even I'm finding it difficult, Anupma, but we have to manage this part. But after the difficult part came on after the assessment when we were trying to compare the norms and run the test scores for the scores and analysis at the Woodcock Johnson's battery. Rishi, we have to enter all the scores to get the statistical analysis.
Right.
Woodcock Johnson, Rammel test, and all those things. And then I'm asking John, what gender should I put in here? Because all the testing scores, the norms are on either male or female of this age and this age. Where do I put this gender? There are no norms of these testings available.
Right.
How do you do that analysis for that kid? So he said, Anupma, let's find it. Where is the biological gender of this kid? Let's do that. So that was a very rational kind of but I find it very, very challenging to address issues. And I don't call myself an expert because I have to learn myself before I can say anything. But I'm finding it very difficult to learn and accept all these things.
Ma'am,
Right.
we have another question from Mr. Amrit Lal, and if you could summarize in short the previous question that he asked, because at that point of time he
Okay.
just left. So
Okay, so his question is about what career options he can have after masters in special education with
yes,
focus on
visual
visual impairment.
impairment. Yeah.
Okay, Amrit, you can explore some places where the services are being provided to the kids or the people with visual impairments and identify your focus area in what age groups do you want to work and identify some organizations whether you want to go in for teaching, creating some resources or going for research area and all this could be done by understanding the needs of the people where they are and what their needs are and identifying some organizations, whether they are the special organizations for people with visual impairments or in a inclusive setup, whether it's the elementary grade children or the skill building vocational training options or rehabilitation or AI, developing some AI based tools and study materials or resources. This, as I'm talking, there is one government based organization called Shramik Vidyapeeth in India. They also offer some rehabilitation and vocational training courses for children with special needs and as well as for underprivileged children also. So we have used some of their resources because some grants are available. There could be some grants available from Department of Science and Technology or Department of Education to conduct some research in these areas and create some prototype materials and tools and technologies for children with special needs or in the area of visual impairment as well. So we have to explore these areas. And I have heard from some of my friends working in universities that as common man, we are not aware. Sometimes those grants are not utilized optimally because we are not aware. So we have to do some due diligence research in that area to find out what grants are available for research. I hope
Ma'am,
this answers Amrit. Yeah.
yes, ma'am. Ma'am, thank you so much for resharing, describe it so beautifully. He has one more question, um, like how to integrate other domain to visual impairment in India career-wise.
Like, can we be a little bit more specific? Like, what other domains are we talking about? What because then it's a very wide question. What other domains?
Visual impairment, how to
Yeah.
integrate other domain to visual impairment in India career-wise, he's asking.
Okay. Okay. No, but it's difficult to answer. What other domains are we talking with visual impairments? What other domains means in this area? Like the child who has a visual impairment, we can. I am not understanding this question. Rishi, do you understand what could be the other domains if we can answer?
Okay, he's
Like
saying
visual
like
impairment.
to cognitive development, like visual impairment to cognitive development.
Yeah, okay, okay. In that aspect, we'll have to modify. There are tons and tons of exercises and activities for um, building cognitive development. We have to identify, first of all, in visual impairment, what their cognitive needs are and how do we transfer the training of cognitive development to a meaningful way to be training to the child with a visual impairment. Of course, we have tons of material, we can share a lot of things, but how do we impart to that training or even evaluation to how do I evaluate the cognitive skill in a child with visual impairment? We have to adapt and modify that testing material in a form which a student with visual impairment can understand. Then the same way we have to transfer the cognitive development training to visual to the communication method how the child would understand there. For example, if I'm looking at, again, we need to have target on their auditory processing because visual impairment is challenging. So we need to focus a lot on tactile mode of learning or touch, smell, or auditory or listening. So all those things have to be developed and changed the modality of the same cognitive task to the other modalities. And we can provide all the material, but how do you, as an expert in the area of visual impairment, we change it to that? I'm not an expert in visual impairment, but yeah, of course, we can talk. If you need us one on one time with Rishi or with me or with anybody team member, we can talk more in details about your specific questions and needs of children with visual impairment.
Sure.
Well, ma'am,
So,
thank you so much for shedding light onto this question. So we are having another participants with us, Leena, Miss Leena and Miss Priyadarshini. Also, you can like here's another question, Mr. Amrit.
Yeah, what are the current research trends in special education? Yeah. So yeah, I think we need to have a one-on-one conversation with him to answer all these questions. We can surely address the Amrit, Google search, and I can share some of the Google Scholar areas where you can find all the research new trends in the areas of special education. If you can send us an email and copy the team members from this from the organization where we are talking about, so please send us the questions. We will compile the resources and share it with you.
sure. So, lovely, you can share the email ID, and so that Amrit can take over can send us the questions to be answered.
Yeah. And Lovely, you were mentioning there is another question by from Lena or Nina. What?
Leena, would you like to ask something, question, any question or anything?
Okay. So, Lena, you can send your question also on the mail. Um, so, thank you, ma'am, for the insightful session, and we'll be coming up with more topics in
Mhm.
this podcast series so that the listeners will keep on joining, and they will definitely benefit from your vast experience, and then the confessions of special educators about their real experiences in life. It was really
Definitely,
insightful.
definitely. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me. I think maybe it's the beginning initiation of a new journey and collaboration with your organization. And I am looking forward to be involved more and more on these type of this kind of a work I've loved to do. And thank you for providing me this forum to reach out to the wider community in India. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ma'am, really very thankful to you and sir for sharing your valuable insights and each one who will be watching this session and
Mhm.
each and everyone. I would really like to thank you both of sir and Anupama ma'am
Thank
taking
you.
out
Thank you so much, lovely. Yeah, thank you.
for
Okay.
taking out time in joining with us. Such an insightful, ma'am. We are looking forward with more sessions with you in future.
Hmm. Yeah, I am also looking forward. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank you
you
very
so
much.
much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.